Joining me to discuss the policy of taking some of these children in is the MEP Stephen Woolfe, UKIP's front bench spokesperson on migration. And here in the studio, Heidi, Conservative MP for South Cambridgeshire, who had said she was prepared to vote against the government before David Cameron's switch earlier today. And you've been welcoming all over the place today.
Absolutely.
The policy. Have you any idea what the policy is? Because it's a little bit loose, isn't it? How many do you think we're talking about?
Well, it is being firmed up as we speak, and what was a very clear message from the Immigration Minister, James Brokenshire, who a number of us met with this afternoon, was that as soon as we're out of the local election period tomorrow, he's going to be writing to local authorities, essentially saying, what can you take? Last year, people don't actually realise, we did resettle around about 3,000 children in this country anyway, so he'll be talking to them in those terms again. That's what we did last year. Look for those numbers again this year coming.
Now, last year, those ones were taken from camps around Syria and places, some of. So the question is, if we take some from continental Europe now, are we simply going to take fewer from the camps? Is it going to be the same number in total? We're just switching where we get them from.
No, this is an addition, and that's one of the great...
Are you sure? It's an addition?
Yes, absolutely.
It's more than last year.
Yes, these are... Because when you look carefully at the legislation and the amendment, which we are now accepting, we talk about the original 20,000 scheme, the 3,000 that was announced around about a fortnight ago, and this is now an addition.
How many are Syrian, or are you expecting to be Syrian, and how many from Eritrea or other parts of the world?
To be absolutely honest, I don't think that analysis has been done, nor is it likely to be done, because the government's policy, which I think is the right one, is to work with the experts on the ground, Save the Children, UNHCR, and to take guidance from them.
But not necessarily all Syrian?
No, absolutely. It's children at risk who are most vulnerable.
Stephen Woolfe, you are a critic of the U-turn. I think you would have rather the government had stuck to its original line.
Yes, I think it would have been wise to do that. Firstly, we need to ensure that the people traffickers who are making billions out of this, and everybody knows that they are, ensure that their children, that they're not using them as a weapon in some ways, and that if you have the children in the camps where they are well looked after by the same government agencies and NGOs that Heidi has talked about, you can then safely assure that they've been looked after. We can make sure that their asylum processes are looked after there, because it's very difficult to make sure where they come into the UK. And yes, there are going to be 3,000 children coming over who are suffering in the camps at the moment, and they will have bad nights. But there are 100,000 children in the United Kingdom tonight who will be living in homeless accommodation, bed and breakfast, hotels, and they will feel as though they're being put to the back of the queue.
Can I just ask, though, Stephen, what you would expect to happen to those children who are already in Europe, who are, if you like, unaccompanied, lonely here? What would you expect to happen to them? Are you expecting them all to be taken by France, or are you expecting them... You said they'll go through the procedure, but I don't know what happens at the end of that procedure.
Well, we don't know, actually, and maybe Heidi can inform us a little bit more clearly what's going to happen to those 3,000 children who are currently in the camps and are being expected to come to the United Kingdom. But there is clearly a responsibility to France and Italy and the other countries where these children are to abide by the same rules that we are abiding by, the UN rules on children and human rights in relation to that they should actually be putting their hands in the pockets and looking after them too. There seems to be a shifting of the policy from them, that they want to put them in the camps, ignore them there. Why are they being ignored in the camps when they have got places, money and facilities to look after them in France or indeed Italy or indeed the other countries in Europe too?
Heidi, this is a point the Prime Minister made, because people were saying it was like the kinder transport, the helping Jewish children before the Second World War. Well, it's not quite, because these are children who are currently in France or Italy or West Europe, and we're rescuing them from countries that are rather like ours.
Well, and this is where, on the face of it, yes, you think it's all Europe, it must be safe. But, you know, I visited Calais and Lesbos, and as many MPs have, and there is anything but safety there. The European countries, Greece in particular, will be the first to admit economically they were on their knees, not in a state to deal with this level. You know, some days 7,000-8,000 people were coming per day. It's chaos, they can't cope. And there's some pretty nasty stuff that happens to children that are not safeguarded and nobody's protecting them. And that's why I do feel we have a responsibility, as every European country has, to join forces, come together and work through this and identify the children that each of us can take.
I mean, Stephen Woolfe, wouldn't it just be a bit selfish for the British to say, look, we've obviously got a collective problem, people have arrived here, we should all do our bit and take some, rather than just say, France, you have to deal with them all, or Italy or Greece, the most extreme, you know, it's your problem because they landed on your shore.
No, we have never said that we shouldn't be taking any of the children at all. What we have been saying is that the 20,000 figure that the Prime Minister had actually put out should be the figure that should be kept in place, and that those children should be taken from the camps, because that sends a very strong message. And it's not about selfishness here either. What we're looking at, even in the constituency that Heidi has, that there are going to be 9,000 children in East Cambridgeshire that are actually without a home tonight. We are short of over 8,000 foster carers. We have 80,000 children who are in the foster care system, 17,000 without homes. What are we saying here is that we are going to take 3,000. It's going to cost us around 100 million a year, but we are also going to have problems trying to house our own. What I would like to say to Heidi is, yes, by all means bring children in, but are you going to put amendments into government policy that actually says we will double the amount of money for councils to be able to look after the existing children who will be homeless tonight, or for those fosters? Are you going to put the $500 million that would actually match the same figure?
Let me put that. You've just got 10 seconds to respond to that. I'm sorry, Heidi.
Guess what? Great British public, courageous, offering help, rallying together as communities. Maybe we can learn something for our own systems and bring more of our own children to the foster network too.
Stephen, Wolf, Heidi, Alan, thank you both very much.